2.5, solving simultaneous equations. This is the last part of chapter 2, then you are done. And then we make you do assessments and stuff. So, how can I solve simultaneous equations to find values of unknown variables? Our success criteria: I can identify unknown variables as per context, use CAS to solve simultaneous equations. A pair of equations such as y equals x plus 2 and y equals 2x minus 5 that we solve together to find values of x and y that satisfy both equations are called simultaneous equations. So, in order to solve a simultaneous equation, we have to find our x value, then substitute that back in again to find our y value. Let's line up our equations. Now, we can do this one of two ways. We can either do it as subtracting the first equation from the second equation, or second equation from the first equation, depending on which way you work. Or I can say this equals y, therefore first equation is equal to the second equation. I'm going to start with that method because it makes more sense to me. So because they both equal y, they must be the same. So x plus 2 must equal 2x minus 5 because they both equal y. I'm solving for x on this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep, I'm going to put the coefficient on the right hand side here, the negative 5, and I'm going to get rid of him first. In order to get rid of him, I need to add 5 to both sides. So, x plus 2 equals 2x minus 5, and I add 5 to both sides. So I add 5 and I add 5. That gets rid of the 5 on one side and moves him to the other side. So I've now got x plus 7 equals 2x. I've still got my x's on either side, and I choose the side where the x is by itself, and I get rid of the other x. So in this case, I'll keep it on blue, sorry, x plus 7 equals 2x, and I need to take x from the left-hand side. So I need to get rid of this guy. So I take x, and I take x, and I end up with 7 is equal to x. So I've solved that. And then I need to substitute this back into one of my initial equations. I'm going to use the really easy one. Y equals x plus 2, where x is equal to 7. So if I substitute x into this equation as 7, I go y equals 7 plus 2, y equals 9. Now if I need to double check this, what I would do is I would put this into the second equation as well. So y equals 2x minus 5, where x equals 7. Y is equal to 2 times 7. Why did I put an equal sign there? Take 5. 2 times 7 is 14. Take 5, which is equal to 9. Yep, check. Y equals 9 with both equations. This is where they are satisfied as simultaneous equations. All right, next slide. What do we do with the CAS? How do we solve this? We learnt how to use the expand function and the solve function. We're now using the linsolve, or the linear equation solving function. And to do that, you would open a new document. It's always so much easier to work with a nice clear screen. You would press your menu button, then you press 3 for algebra, 7 for solving system of equations, and number 2 for solve system of linear equations. Now you will have a pop-up screen, and on that pop-up screen, what you do is you keep number of equations as 2. If you had 3 equations, you'd change it to 3. If you had 4 equations, you change it to 4, but realistically, most of the time we're only dealing with 2. You would hit tab. Your variables are x and y. Most of the time we will keep it as x and y. Very, very rarely do we confuse you and change it. So keep that as X and Y, hit Tab and press OK. When you get to, it'll then go back to the calculator screen and it'll have Lin solve. Then it'll have a big bracket and it'll have a squiggly parentheses. And it'll have two boxes like that. In the first box here, you put your first equation. Then in your second box, so you'll have to press your down arrow, you put in your second equation. It has its own comma, X and Y in parentheses and a bracket. You do not need to close off that original squiggly bracket or original parentheses at all. If you press enter, it'll then come up with a value. In the case of this one, it's -1, -1. And that means that the first value is your X value, the second value is your Y value, because that's what you've actually asked for it in the equation. Now, if you had put that as Y, X, it would then mean the Y comes first, the X comes second. If you need further help with solving simultaneous equations, check out my CAS video. All right, so the CAS solved Y equals 2x plus 1 and 4x plus y plus 5 equals 0 as -1, -1. What I'm going to do is show you how to do this step by step to solve for the same equation by hand. So what we do need to do is that we need to take this second equation, because I currently have y equals 2x plus 1, and I need to make y the subject on my second equation. So 4x plus y plus 5 equals 0. I'm going to take the easy way out. I'm going to take y from both sides. So 4x plus y plus 5 equals, no, leave a gap, equals 0. Take y, and I end up with 4x plus 5 equals -y. Now, ideally, I want to get rid of that negative, so I'm going to multiply everything by -1. Easiest way to get rid of it all. So I end up with -4x minus 5, so -4x times -1, 4x times -1 gives you -4x, and 5 times -1 gives you -5, but I've now got a positive y. I'm going to take this down to the bottom of the page. Both my equations are equal to y. Y equals 2x plus 1 and y equals -4x minus 5. As per the previous example, I know that both of them equal y, so I can, let's add them together. I'm going to put a line, no, we're going to add them together, take them away. Let's take them away. Y take y gives us nothing. 2 take -4 gives us 6, because remember I've got double negatives there. So 2 take -4 gives us 6x. And 1 take -6 gives us 6. Oops, I shouldn't have that. Plus 6. So I've got 2x plus 1 equaling -4x minus 5. I could rearrange it all if I wanted to, but if I put one on top of the other and I subtract them, I cancel out my y's and I can solve for x. So I've now got 6x plus 6 equals 0. I need to subtract 6 from both sides to move the 6 over. Oops, I've got to stop changing colours. So 6x plus 6 equals 0, minus 6 minus 6. And then I end up with, let's push that over there. So I've got 6x on one side equals -6 on the other. Divide both sides, to get rid of this 6 next to the y, divide both sides by 6. And I end up with x equals -1. All right, well, that's what we found with the CAS as well. Now I substitute it back in again. I'm going to use formula number 1 on that top line. I'm going to use it in red because it stands out more. Y equals 2x plus 1. If I do 2 times -1 plus 1 is my y value, I end up with y equaling -2 plus 1. Oops, sorry about that, guys. Equals -1. So my values are -1, -1. Confirmed by the CAS calculator. So that is it with Chapter 2. As I said, if you've got any queries with CAS instructions, jump on the other CAS videos. Otherwise, shoot me a comment.